Hello, my name is Sue Gevedon, and I work with the Los Angeles County Office of Education in the Expanded Learning Technical Assistance Unit. It is my pleasure to introduce Richard Tran from the Boys and Girls Club of Whittier. Richard is an area director, and he oversees 8 ACES programs for elementary school youth for the Boys and Girls Club of Whittier. The purpose of today's interview is to spotlight how Region 11 expanded learning programs are rising to address the challenges that are developing from the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we will be learning from Richard how he and his program staff have developed and delivered self-guided lesson plans for enrichment activities. So Richard, welcome, and thank you for sharing your time with me today.
Hi, Sue. Yeah, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So let's get started. So Richard, tell me how you engaged your staff with the online self-guided lesson planning.
Yeah, so we initially knew we didn't want to do worksheets. So we created Google discussion boards for all of our sites. And the idea was that we were going to have a platform so that students could ask for help and receive live responses during typical program time. We found out pretty quickly that that was not a popular idea for our students and families. So we scrapped that, and over spring break combed over a lot of the guardian and parent feedback that we got and went back to the drawing board. And so we came up with 2 ideas, and the first was live virtual program, and the second was program kits. And so part of the feedback we were getting was that, you know, with schools being logged into Zoom and Google Classroom all day, there was an oversaturation of screen time. And so we came up with program kits, which are akin to monthly subscription boxes. And our thought was that we provide these boxes that would include different activities that the students could do at home, at their own pace, and offline. So we scaled them by age group. They came with a set of instructions and all the supplies needed. And then we also gave them a link to a website that we created, because some of the activities were a little bit more involved. And so we had one of our staff members create pre-recorded videos that walked the students through each activity step by step.
Awesome. So how did you prepare your staff to start developing these self-guided lessons? What steps did you take with them to get them on board?
So in addition to my work at the Boys and Girls Club of Whittier, I'm also a part-time adjunct education professor at Whittier College. So I spend a lot of time with my SCs training them on education theory. And so when we first came up with the idea of program kits, I pulled my best program people and formed a committee, and I knew they'd be very comfortable creating robust activities from scratch. So really all I did was tell them the vision, but I gave them the freedom to create the activities themselves. And so the idea was that we wanted it to be fun, first and foremost. And so, you know, we knew none of the kids would be excited to pull a math worksheet out of a box. So my team was charged with creating fun activities and embedding the learning into something that would be attractive to our students. And so my team built the framework, I gave them some feedback, and then we came out with the final product.
Okay, so as your staff were creating their lessons for these program boxes, did they get feedback on the individual lessons, and what did that look like?
So for the individual lessons, I reviewed each one of them, kind of talked through the rationale with them. They all were, based on supporting state standards or, sight words or particular numbers that age groups or different grades would need to know based on grade. And, that was the feedback that we gave internally. And we created the program kits to be standalone, but on the first day we gave them out, our students hopped on our live Zoom meeting and asked if we could work on all the activities together. So we got that, and a number of parents and guardians letting us know how excited their kids were about the program kits. And so we weren't sure how it was going to land, but it was really encouraging to see students and families responding so positively right away.
Okay, thank you. Did you have any challenges that came up within this process in developing these lessons, and how did you overcome any of those challenges if they did come up?
Yeah, so specifically with the program kits, we had a lot of ideas. Some were great in theory, but when it came to production, they were less realistic. And so each kit was originally going to have 5 or 6 activities, but we ended up having to modify or just back some of them out altogether. And we ended up with 4 or 5 activity kits per, 4 or 5 activities per kit. And, I think on a larger scale, Most of my SCs were struggling when we first started, and I think that's totally reasonable. We were having them create and recreate completely new programs. Things were changing constantly. Not all of our PLs were self-directed, and so the SCs were managing their personal concerns about the pandemic, relearning how to work, relearning how to manage their team. So, part of it was really just trying to connect with them on a human level, make sure they felt supported. There were times where we had team meetings and I just scrapped the team meeting. We weren't allowed to talk about work. We just talked about Animal Crossing, different things, different shows we were watching that were kind of bringing us joy during this time, just so we can kind of recenter around something positive. And from the start, I think another big thing was I just made it clear to my team that giving up wasn't an option. I knew they were really frustrated. I knew it was challenging and there was no sort of template for the work, but we were just going to move forward, be as thoughtful as possible, and just be prepared to make mistakes and adjust as we go. So it certainly wasn't a perfect process.
Well, I'm sure you did struggle with things, and I'm very happy to hear that you listened to your staff and supported them through their challenging times. I'm sure they appreciated all the support and the flexibility that they received from you. So how did you communicate with the students and their families about the availability of these program kits that you and your staff had created?
So while it was less than ideal not to be able to run our physical programs, one of the unforeseen benefits of our daily virtual program was that we were able to speak with parents and guardians on pretty much a daily basis, particularly for our younger members who were struggling to kind of get situated with the technology. So that, was a very easy way to get the word out about program kits. We also use the Remind app, which is a way that you can send mass messages to the same message to an entire class or group of kids. So that was an easy way to do kind of a daily reminder. And then we also had our staff download Google Voice, which is a free app that allows you to make calls and send text messages and receive text messages from your number, but not use your own personal number. And so once a week, we would make calls home to the family, check in with them, see how we could support. And then during those calls, we let them know, this was available to them. So we ended up working with one of our community partners, the Fifth Dimension, which is an amazing after-school program through the Ed department at Whittier College. And for our first round of kits, we had about 300 kits, and then all were free to the families.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you had used some videos and things like that. So what platform, or maybe it's platforms, did you use to share some of this content with your kids, the students, and their families?
So for the program kits, we created a website through Google. That was a free website for us to make. And the website isn't a necessity, but it was a supplement. So we color-coded the boxes based on age group. So kinder through second was our green box, third through sixth was our blue box. And so students can visit this website and find the box that they're working on. And there we have electronic versions of all the instructions, all the supplies you need for each activity, along with the pre-recorded how-to videos.
Awesome. So, you've mentioned that you've worked with, several hundreds worth of parents and children. So how did you get the materials distributed to the kids so they could get these boxes into their homes to work on them?
Yeah, so we have the luxury of having our own facility where we run non-ACES programs. So
Okay.
what we did was create staggered dates and times for pickups so families could come by. And for those who didn't want to or, couldn't come in person, we deliver them to the families directly. We had some of our program staff volunteer. So we made sure it wasn't compulsory to help at all with the process. We wanted to be sensitive to our staff who needed to stay at home, take care of their kids or other loved ones, or who simply didn't feel comfortable. And about half of my SCs reached out to me individually and expressed an interest in doing the work. And so we were vigilant about safety. Everyone was wearing masks, gloves, and we stayed 6 feet apart.
Awesome. That just sounds like you've mobilized a small army to get these out to the families. And then finally, do you have an encouraging story that highlights how these lessons have impacted the kids and even perhaps their families that you could share?
Yeah, I have an email from one of our parents that has stood out to me. So I'll just read that because it's
Okay.
She says it better than I could. But she says, first of all, thank you. No one saw this pandemic coming, but having this program jump in and come up with a solution for the kids so quickly was incredible. Now that the children are limited to a couple hours per week with their teachers, it's such a relief that this program is there to support and fill in the gaps. Personally, this has been a huge help. I have Emma and James officially in the program, and I also have Penny, my youngest, who's unofficially in program and sits with her sister during live programs and helps with all the activities. It's comforting to have a whole team supporting parents and teachers, and honestly, program kits and live program have been such a highlight for them. But both their grandma and I have discussed how fun it is to see all three running around the house, doing scavenger hunts, drawing, and working on their journals. The Boys and Girls Club team is so creative and engaging. My little one talks excitedly about joining your program next year. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do for us. And so, you know, we were very fortunate in that a lot of our parents regularly expressed their appreciation for, you know, our team's work. And, you know, this email in particular just really stood out to us.
Well, that is a very flattering email, and I myself am looking forward to seeing all the fabulous things that you're going to be doing as we move forward with however our schools reopen in the fall. So Richard, thank you very much for sharing your experience in developing and delivering these program boxes. It really sounds like the families and the students, and even some of the youngest students to be, have totally enjoyed what you've put together. And then to our viewers, we hope that you've shared the information that was shared today. And we're hoping that you can use some of this information to jumpstart your own conversations with your own staff and your stakeholders. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope you'll be able to check out our other Spotlight videos on our website. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.